Hello and welcome to the Sands of Time review channel. It is your host, Sammy Thunder. I'm back at it once again with another one of my Watch Express videos. Wanted to let the audience know that I have taken a small break from watches, so I'm back in business, and I kind of wanted to give my opinions on this new release from Seiko. It is to commemorate the 110th anniversary of their very first Seiko Laurel wristwatch that they launched. So it's the SPB359, and it is actually based off the Laurel. So the Laurel is kind of like their first kind of wristwatch, and you can tell, back in the day, how would you turn a watch into a wristwatch? It was intuitive to just weld on some lugs and then put a piece of material through it and wrap it on your wrist. And these kind of watches, a wristwatch was initially used as a tool for military purposes. I guess they were famously debuted in World War One. But ideally you'd have pocket watches. But this is what this new Seiko is trying to commemorate. It's the the very first Seiko they have, and you can kind of tell that it's from the looks of the vintage version and this recreation. They are very similar in terms of the case and the strap used, which is excellent. I mean, to produce the very first strap, a recreation of the very first strap that they used on the their first wristwatch is pretty cool, right? And they've put this under the Presage lineup, so you know what you expect from this watch in terms of mechanical performance, etc. So a little bit of specs out of the way. This is a limited edition watch of 2,500 pieces, which is numbered. It features a 37.5mm diameter, a 12.6mm thickness, and a lug to lug of 39.3. You got to note that this is almost a lugless watch, and this is going to be wearing extremely small on your wrist. So this is a point I'm going to reiterate throughout this video, that this watch will appear small, and this particular watch will only appeal to certain people. I guess the true collectors and Seiko enthusiasts, they'll like this, but in terms of the wearability, you got to be comfortable with wearing small proportions, and 39.3mm is very, very small. For me in particular, 43 to 44mm lug to lug is borderline, but 39mm lug to lug is going to appear very small. That's one thing to note. It's a no-date watch. It features the 6R27 caliber, which is based off the 6R15 movement. So in terms of the precision, Seiko are very, how do I explain it? Very high tolerance. So in terms of, it has a high margin of tolerance. So plus 25 to minus 15 seconds per day. But usually these kind of Seikos will perform much better. But that's just a generalization. But this is the specification. Features 45 hours power reserve, and it's a 29 joule movement. This new reissue features a power reserve indicator, which is nice. All Arabic numerals, which is great. I love the watch. I love looking at the number 4 here, especially how the tail of the 4 has this kind of trident pattern to it. You got the period correct red 12 o'clock, which is great. Now, in terms of what this looks like in person, these are just some pictures of the watch, and it looks stunning. I wish it was just a little bit larger for modern times, if this is a recreation, right? But they're trying to balance between a reissue and a recreation, and I do think in the future we may see a recreation that's maybe a bit larger. But look, I can't speak. This is the limited version. It features power reserve, it features date, date and center seconds, which is nice. It features an enamel dial, and enamel dials are beautiful. They're very luscious. I've experienced Seiko enamel dial, and this is actually manufactured and handmade by the master craftsman Mitsuru Yokosawa. These people are also people that work on Crador enamel, right? For example, they work on the Seiko porcelain dials. These guys, very talented. They do a lot of hand craftsmanship for this brand. I've experienced their brand firsthand, the enamel firsthand, you know, it's great. And in person, you're going to notice, due to the enamel heating process, that you might see a little bit of dimples here and there, and you're going to get a tag which will state that, which is normal. But in my opinion, that is something you just never notice, and it's just the nature of the hand craftsmanship and the nature of the enamel process, because every kind of dial is going to be a little bit different. The cool thing about enamel is it's not going to degrade in color anytime soon, because it's enamel. Another thing to note is that this watch features blued hands, not thermally blued though. What I understand from the Presage lineup is that they do not use thermally blued processing for the handset. I think for this watch it's a little bit of a letdown. I would have preferred to have thermally blued handset just like the original. I would have also preferred if they were to actually cap this handset, you know, just a little bit of higher end watchmaking would have, for me, I would have been, you know, I would have really appreciated that, but not a deal breaker. I mean, it just looks absolutely phenomenal. You can tell that this is not a thermally blued handset just by looking at that, and you can kind of tell that, you know, this is a painted handset. Not to say that their painted handsets are inferior, but I would have preferred that traditional watchmaking. You know, it's a very snobbish thing of me, but to be honest, this is something I would have asked, and I think at this price point of 2,800 Australian dollars, I definitely think they can do it and offer that value for the money. Nonetheless, it's absolutely stunning. You know, it's paying homage to the Laurel. Another thing I would have preferred is, with some of Seiko's kind of reissues and recreations, I would have preferred if they were to actually use the terminology and taxonomy they had in the past. For example, why not have Laurel on the dial, right? Why the Presage? I know it's going to be part of the Presage group, which is fine, but you don't need to state it. You can probably just, you know, I would have loved to see Laurel. It's the same thing with the Seiko Alpinist reissue. Why not use the Alpinist or Laurel text, right? Like they use on the original. Because at the end of the day, for someone that's really an enthusiast and collector, they do find that interesting, right? Like, this is one of the reasons why people debate between the Seiko Marine Master 300 with the Marine Master text on the dial, or the Seiko Marine Master 300 with the Prospex logo. To be honest, it's not a big deal for me, because I'd take either. But I think as collectors and enthusiasts, we wouldn't mind having that extra text, that collectability in the watch. But nonetheless, it's fine. I really appreciate this new crown they have, onion style crown, which is great. So in terms of manually winding this watch, you're gonna have a lot of fun. And look, it's a great watch. It looks good, but I want to reiterate that, you know, if you look at this picture here, it's just need to understand that this is a 39.3 mils lug to lug, right? So it will wear small, right? Like, you could almost classify this as a ladies piece, right? But back in the day, this was fine. But in the modern day, I'd say someone like me would think twice before purchasing. Another thing I do appreciate about this watch is, and that it's a little bit different to the original, is that it's actually got a cut 6. But Seiko have put a little bit more thought to it, and they've actually made this cut 6 symmetrical, so it doesn't bother me, simply because of that symmetry that this watch offers, right? Even though it has the power reserve indicator, it still offers that you know, symmetry. I guess the power reserve indicator, it doesn't need to be there. I guess it's a little bit of extra clutter onto the dial, especially because this is such a small watch. In my opinion, I think they probably could have done without the power reserve indicator, but nonetheless they've added it in. It personally doesn't bother me, but I would have preferred the authentic, you know, clean, you know, symmetrical look that this watch kind of offers. But the power reserve indicator may offset the dial, but personally, from the pictures I've seen, it doesn't bother me. And this here is a side profile view. It's bulbous. It's 12.6 mils in thickness, so I bet that box crystal adds around that 0.3 to 0.6 mil added thickness to it. But it's a bulbous watch simply because you have this bun strap, so you're going to be wearing it primarily on this bun strap, unless there are aftermarket strap creators specifically for this watch, which I don't think so. I don't know how aftermarket strap options will be for this watch. I'm assuming you're pretty much restricted. So in terms of the wearability, yeah, this watch here, despite what it was in the past, it's now considered a very bespoke offering from this brand, because you either have people that will be diehard fans of it, will appreciate it, and they're collectors and they want something special like this, or there are other people that are like, okay, this is too small for me, next. Which is, you know, a little bit sad, because if they made a recreation for the modern, you know, the modern day, I wouldn't mind having a, you know, 39 mil case. But at the end of the day, they've kind of tried to find the balance, and this is where they've come. It's a limited edition, and, you know, box sapphire crystal, anti-reflective coating on the inside. It's an offering from Seiko. I think I've gone through everything I can with this watch. 15 meters of water resistance, if that actually matters. It's on a leather band, but I think it's a cool offering, but just need to think twice before you make any kind of purchase, simply because of the size. If you prefer a vintage styling or the vintage size, I think this is perfect. But if you're someone that's never really dealt with this kind of size, just think a little bit, you know, about this watch. Try it on, definitely on the wrist, and have a look. But yeah, this is the sands of time. Thanks for watching. Peace.